Fake HOA blocked his parade. It was a Veterans Suicide Awareness March. The morning air in Willow Glen was crisp with the scent of pine and pavement. Along the winding neighborhood roads, families sipped coffee on porches, kids practiced bike tricks on sidewalks, and lawn sprinklers ticked rhythmically under the sun. But on this particular Saturday, something different was stirring. Banners were being raised, T-shirts were being handed out, flags with silhouettes of soldiers were being lined up down Maple Lane. The event had been planned for weeks. The March for 22, a veteran-organized walk to raise awareness for the estimated 22 veteran suicides that happen every day in America. Organized by Army veteran Marcus Hale, the march wasn't flashy. It was quiet, somber, and meant to move through the heart of the neighborhood as a symbol of remembrance and connection. But not everyone welcomed it, especially not Karen Delaney. Dressed in a stiff black polo with Willow Glen Property Standards Committee embroidered on the chest, a committee that wasn't legally recognized, Karen stood at the end of the main street, arms crossed, lips pursed. She had made it her mission to enforce decorum, especially when it came to unsanctioned activity. As the first group of marchers approached, veterans, widows, teenagers, wearing dog tags with names they never got to know, Karen stepped forward and planted her feet in the center of the road. "This isn't happening here," she snapped. "You didn't get neighborhood approval, no permit, no parade." Marcus Hale, tall, broad-shouldered, and dressed in a simple black shirt that read, "22 too many," walked up calmly. He carried a folded American flag in one hand, the other resting on the leash of his retired service dog. "Ma'am," he said firmly, "this isn't a party. We're not playing music. We're not selling anything. We're walking for the people we lost." Karen scoffed. "That's not my problem. You're blocking driveways and disturbing the peace. Some of us are trying to enjoy our Saturday." "You think our friends who took their lives wanted to go quietly too?" Marcus asked softly. Karen's voice rose. "Look, I don't care what this is for. You didn't go through me, and this neighborhood has standards." Phones started recording. Veterans exchanged confused glances. Mothers with young sons began whispering in disbelief. Then came Karen's words, ones that would ignite outrage across the nation. "You people and your trauma parades always want sympathy," she said with a sneer. "Well, maybe if you were stronger, you wouldn't have to march at all." Gasps, audible, raw. Marcus didn't move. He didn't shout. He just turned toward the people behind him and said, "We keep walking." The march continued, around her, past her, through the heart of the community, but the damage had been done, and the internet never forgets. The video, Karen blocking the parade, Karen mocking veterans, Karen dismissing the mental health crisis, went viral within hours. Fake HOA blocks suicide awareness march. Karen tells veterans to be stronger. Widow speaks out. "My husband deserved better than this." News outlets descended on Willow Glen. Military nonprofits issued statements. Even state senators tweeted in support of Marcus and his team. The backlash wasn't mild. Karen's job as a local insurance agent? Gone. The committee she created? Publicly dissolved. The neighborhood? United in fury. People who once ignored her antics began to speak up. They told stories of how she harassed their kids for chalk drawings, warned elderly neighbors about excessive garden decor, and once demanded a wreath be taken down for being too morbid. But this was different, because it wasn't just an overreach, it was cruelty. Marcus never responded with venom. He didn't give interviews that slammed Karen by name. Instead, he used the moment. The next weekend, he held a town hall in the neighborhood park. Hundreds came, some in uniform, some in grief, some just to listen. A young man stood up, trembling. "I lost my brother last year. I didn't even know these marches existed. Thank you for this." An older woman wiped her tears. "My husband was in Vietnam. He never talked about it. He died with so much pain. I wish someone had marched for him." One by one, voices rose, not in anger, but in connection. And in that space, something rare happened. Karen showed up, not dressed in black, not carrying a clipboard, just quiet. She stood at the back of the crowd, wringing her hands. She didn't try to defend herself. She didn't ask to speak. But as the town hall ended, Marcus noticed her. He approached slowly. "I didn't expect to see you here," he said. Karen looked up, eyes glassy. "I didn't come to argue. I came to say I was wrong." He said nothing. "I was raised to think strength was silence, that anything less was weakness. But that march, those names, the faces," her voice cracked. "My father was a vet. Took his own life when I was 13. We never talked about it. My mother never let me cry." Marcus exhaled, not with pity, with understanding. "We don't need your apology," he said, "but you're welcome to walk with us next time." Karen blinked. "Even after what I said?" Marcus nodded. "Especially after what you said, because change doesn't start with people who already get it. It starts with the ones brave enough to learn." 3 months later, the next March for 22 moved through Willow Glen again. This time the banners were bigger. The sidewalks were lined with flags. The mayor gave a short speech. The police blocked off the road with full city approval. And at the front of the line stood Marcus, holding the flag as always. Right beside him, in a gray hoodie that read, "Walking for My Father," was Karen Delaney. She didn't speak much. She didn't try to lead. She just walked, every step a quiet apology, every tear a memory finally released. Message of the story. Sometimes the greatest strength isn't found in silence or pride. It's found in listening, learning, and choosing to walk beside the people we once judged. And sometimes the loudest march is the one that teaches us how to be human again. Side story, the name she never said. The evening breeze rustled the photos on Karen's dining room table. Dozens of black and white prints, creased and faded by time, lay scattered under the dim glow of a single lamp. Her hand hovered over one, a young soldier in uniform, tall and proud, with Karen's smile frozen in his embrace. Her father, Corporal Robert Delaney, Korean war vet, buried without a flag on his coffin because the family didn't want to stir up questions. Karen stared at the photo. She hadn't said his name aloud in over 30 years. That night after the second march, after she walked quietly beside Marcus Hale and the dozens of families holding signs and faces and folded flags, she returned home and opened the one box she had kept buried in the attic. Inside it were his medals, a Purple Heart, a Bronze Star, and a note written in shaky handwriting she once couldn't bear to read. "If I go, it's not your fault, Karen. Some battles never end." She clutched the paper, her fingers trembling. All those years she thought anger would protect her, that enforcing rules, demanding silence, judging others, it would keep the pain away. But she had become the very silence that took her father. The next morning, Karen stood outside Marcus Hale's home. She wasn't holding a complaint. She wasn't there to be seen. She held a box, sealed with a ribbon the color of army green. When Marcus opened the door, she simply said, "I'd like you to have this, for the memorial table." He never got one. Marcus nodded slowly and took the box with reverence. He didn't ask questions. He didn't press her. Instead, he stepped aside. "Come in. The team's making coffee, and we're building memory plaques for next month." Karen hesitated, then stepped through the doorway, leaving her fear outside. Weeks later, at the next March for 22, a new photo was added to the front display. Corporal Robert Delaney. His daughter walked behind the banner that bore his name, not as a fake HOA enforcer, not as a voice of judgment, but as a daughter finally free from silence. And when the march paused at the end for the reading of names, Karen stepped forward for the first time. With the microphone shaking in her hands, she said, "For my father who served in silence, for the man I lost before I understood what he gave, for every name that was never spoken. We speak them now." The crowd was quiet. Then slowly they stood and clapped. Not for forgiveness, for the courage to change. Moral of the epilogue. The pain we bury doesn't disappear, it waits. But healing begins the moment we let it rise. And sometimes the person we judge the hardest is the version of ourselves we never made peace with. The end.